2023, I was going to my best friend's condo to hang out and do some crafting. She was telling me about her neighbor, a younger girl, a little troubled, who had been having spiritual issues at home. I said, well, I mean, you have done blessings before. If you think she would want that, let's go talk to her. For context, I'm a pagan, so we ended up going over and discussing a few things with some very poignant questions. One of these which was, have you ever played with a Ouija board or done a ritual to that extent? She was very forward with a, no, never. So I went ahead and did a cleansing and a blessing. Then I finished up my night at my friend's house and ended up heading home. Unfortunately, I ended up feeling immediately off, like I was being followed. I tried to brush it off and just go about my daily routines in the days to follow, but it just kept sticking. I would see small things out of the corner of my eye, fleeting shadows, weird shapes in the corners of my house. I eventually just went, it's nothing big. But let me just go ahead and say, I was completely wrong about that. It started off slow at first. Sounds of my boyfriend would happen during the day when he was at work and I was at home studying. At the time, I was mentally exhausted, so after studying for hours and hours, I would occasionally take naps on the couch. During my nap that day, I started to hear noises like the boyfriend had gotten home, shut the door, and was taking off his boots. All of these things that he did every day, I was hearing. Then, the biggest surprise of them all, I felt a kiss on my cheek. I went to open my eyes, and no one was there. Oddly enough, looking back, that kiss was extremely cold. I was shaking at that point in the dark, where my boyfriend should have been, but he wasn't. So I looked at my clock and realized he wouldn't be home for another 3 hours. I locked myself in the bedroom with all the lights on, and I refused to come back out. A few days later, I was in our bedroom, and it must have been 5:30 a.m. when I rolled awake because I heard a noise. I saw my boyfriend by the door to the bedroom, so I whispered, "What are you doing? Come back to bed." This thing spun around, and its face was a spiraling mess of indistinct features. It was at least 8 feet tall. I screamed and grabbed it behind me where my boyfriend really was. I turned to look at him, and I turned back again, and it was gone. This carried on for weeks until I finally had it out and decided to have others come bless my home. The neighbor we helped, she actually confided in me weeks later that she'd taken part in some screwed up Ouija board stuff, and she just didn't want to admit it. I've since stopped helping people, because I can't help having my own nightmares myself.